on an event October 21st to 23rd. So I do a lot of I'm doing a lot of like writing around it, just taking it's a lot. It's a lot. 3 days trying to fill 3 days of stuff, and also figuring out exactly what is wanting to be birthed from this event, just like what is wanting to be um, brought forth from this call here today as well. I'd love to start it how I started last week, which is, sharing some wins, sharing some challenges, trials and tribulations, anything like that, to get this call started so we can kind of figure out what's the direction that this call really wants to go to. And, you know, uh, and then at some point we're going to read the chapter of chapter 8, section 5. It's not as long as the last one, but it's called the undivided will of the sonship, right? So last week we spoke about we spoke about like in order for you to experience freedom, freedom is in choosing to be aligned with the will of God, choosing to be in the presence of God so that miracles can show up for you, because miracles are a natural occurrence. So when it is not happening, it means you are out of alignment. So I started writing some things for my book for the conference. And so I kind of just want to begin and start us off with what I wrote as like the 7 steps to creating freedom, to breakthroughs. Really just the 7 steps that I kind of have implemented in my life. So number one, I bring everything to God first. So like seek God first, which, that allows me to tap into my inner power, knowing that like greatness created me, right? So greatness is in me because greatness created me. And so in times of, darkness, challenges, I never really feel alone because I've established a spiritual intimacy with God, and so nothing can replace that for me. And I've cultivated this in my lifetime, right? Like I've had many challenges, and I think, as I was watching some of my friends' videos recently, there's a lot of people like getting baptized, and I'm thinking to myself, I used to think like, wow, what a like weird, what a weird thing for everybody to like go through, and then also having such a spiritual awakening, or and people cry and stuff like that. And I think, as I was just thinking about it, like challenges in our lives and things that we've done wrong, and the grievances that we hold on to and that we don't let go of, like that is it's a symbol, and it's an opportunity for us to just like use, getting kind of dunked into the water and coming back up as like a renewal of faith. That no matter how far you've gone or anything that you've done in your life, what you've done wrong and what you feel like where you've wronged people, that it's a cleansing. We get a renewal. And so sometimes we don't mean to do some of the things that hurt people, but and we want to come back, right? There's always a calling to return back to love, and we want to come back, but we just don't know how. So like having a process like that, I felt like connected to it this week, just watching that, and it really comes from like I have a background where I chose my family when I was growing up. It was half Buddhist, half Catholic, so I chose more of the Buddhist path growing up, and I kind of had judgments on everything else that happens in organized religion. So I didn't know that I still was holding on to some parts of that. So like I wrote the second step down, which is to detox like all withholding of love, all grievances that we hold on to, all judgments, even in the smallest form. I didn't even know I had anything on that before until I was watching the video, and I was like, wow, I had to like give this over to have, clarity, to see this with the perception of love. So, if in our closet, if in our mind we are holding on to resentment. We are holding on to, like anger and judgment and jealousy. Like all that stuff is in the room, and it doesn't give us any space for breakthroughs or for success, or even to, experience joy. Right. So like I wrote down that like our future is way too important to be held by the past. That everything in life is about forgiveness. And the Course says forgiveness is to bring forth into the present moment everything that is loving, where you gave love and where you received love. That's the only thing worthy of bringing to the present moment. And forgiveness doesn't mean that you agree with any wrongdoings. It just means that you won't be held, in chains by it anymore. It's just letting that energy go. And you don't have to do it all by yourself, and some of these things that we hold on to and that we were brought up with are so deeply rooted in us that we can't really let it go by ourselves. And so we kind of go back, or actually we just go back to step one, where it's seek God and give it back to God. We hold on to these things and we can't let go by ourselves. It's too strong. It's got too much of a grip on us. So we give it over. Wait, sorry, letting some people in. Okay. And then number 3 is to create a powerful vision for yourself. We can't go places, we can't create things if we don't first imagine it first. If we don't first hold a vision of it, then we can't have it happen. So you want to move your mind to a place of unlimited potential. You want to move your mind to all possibilities is available to you. And then and then we want to write down, like, what is our vision? Like, we want to write it down so clear that somebody else can read it and run with it. So that's like number 3. So number 1 is seek God, have an intimate relationship with God first. And then 2, detox all the places in which you are withholding love. 3 is having a super powerful vision. 4 is you have to adopt this like mindset. You have to make a choice every moment. Your mindset is unstoppable. It's unwavering. And so I wrote in our text going out to everybody here today is that like every trial and tribulation has a mindset required to overcome it. And that right thinking, right mindset will eventually bring peace to every situation. This is what the whole point. A Course in Miracles is about having right mindset. Right mindset will bring peace to every single situation. And to overcome or change any behavior in our lives, we must address the thinking that created it. We got to address the thinking that produced these thoughts. So that's number 4. And number 5, I wrote, you got to declare a breakthrough. Okay, you declare a breakthrough because all the Course says that words create form on some level. Okay, it is if somebody is to overhear, and this is kind of what it's a good reminder is, if someone was to overhear your conversation, right, would they feel inspired? Would they feel more drawn to you? Like we can zoom out a little bit and look at our own conversations that we're having with people. Because if you're like gossiping about something, like what will you draw more into your life? Or if you're speaking, of love and forgiveness to something else, what will that draw into your life? So really like having this, having the declaration, what you're speaking out with words. And then I went back on number 6 as like, you really just have to master step number 1. Mastering step number 1 is mastering faith. Okay, we establish and we build and cultivate the courage to take the next step without knowing where that leads. And that comes to faith. And that's our life every day. We think we know what's going to happen. We think we know where it's going. And things show up that are unexpected. And the last thing is just plug into the world's, the universe's most powerful frequency, which is love. So we go back into the whole reason we're on this call here is to plug into love. Love changes everything that it touches, and it changes everything unlike itself to itself, and it has the ability to reach the core of everything in existence. All miracles originate from it. All powers of nature, bow to it. So, we have one agenda on this planet, and is to experience love, is to explore the depth in which we're able to love others and to be loved. Right? So, really ultimately is to experience how much God loves us. So that is my opening. I would love to just open it up for whatever is alive for everyone here. Um, what's on your mind this week? Great. Annika, go ahead.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I gotta shut my sensor. I just got back from the beach.
Nice.
Ah, so I have a good share for today. I already told you a little bit, but it's really interesting everything you're saying about like coming back to love. So I just got out of a relationship, like a 3 year off and on tense relationship for the last 3 years, and I knew it was really bad for me because during this whole relationship, like I just was not in any of these things that you were saying. Like I just had like I felt so knocked off course, and I didn't want to blame him or the relationship, but I was like, I have to exit this, and it ended on a really bad note. Like he ghosted me and blocked me, and it's just like really bad. And like, man, I felt sad for a moment. Then I realized this is what's best for me, and um, so later that afternoon, I got this really awesome invitation to go out to Austin. Someone had gifted me a present to give to my son for his 16th birthday, to take him out to Austin to go to the Circuit of the Americas race, F1. And they sent me the dates, and I was like, oh no, I can't go. It's the weekend that I'm doing this massage competition, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, what's more important, my business and my future, or is the present with my son and making memories? And then I went back and remembered 50.1 selection process with you. If anyone doesn't know what that is that's on this call, I know Alex from gratitude trainings, and there's like a selection process. And I'm trying to remember the exact words you were saying to me, but you were saying, what is it? Are you open, closed? What is it that you say in the selection?
I am not sure.
Okay, so you're like, are you open something to coaching the next training? And I was like, I'm closed because I have plans. I can't do it. I have like plans that week. I'm not open to doing it. And you're like, and we went on with this till 1:30 in the morning. It was the longest selection I'd ever been in. And I was like, this guy, like, are you serious, Alex? Like, come on. But it impacted me because, of course, the next week, COVID shut everything down. And we no longer had the training. So I was like, oh, I am open. I am open to do the next training because it's postponed. So I'm sitting here last night with this I had to tell the lady by today if I was going to go to this event. And you know what? There's this hurricane coming, and I'm going to put this in the hands of God that I'm open. I am open to whatever's happening. I know that this is going to work out exactly how it is. It's going to get postponed. I'm like, this is COVID all over again. It's going to get postponed. I'm going to get to do it all. And this also coincided with your event. It was also going to make it hard for me to go to your event on the
21st.
next day, on the 21st. So this is the 18th through the 20th, and then your event's the 21st. So I woke up this morning to an email from the lady that it got postponed. And I was like, yeah, so it just goes to show that I think when we're open, like I just realized that, hey, this breakup and everything is not an ending to my life. I'm open to love. I'm open to everything. And I just feel this huge shift just happen in my life, and now I can have it all. And thank you, Alex, for those important COVID lessons. You open, closed, or something. I thought you'd remember that, but Oh,
It was a while ago. If I really think about it, I can probably remember it.
yeah.
um, yeah, but like we never know like what is going to affect other people, right? Like, and I was just really standing for being open.
Yeah.
That was the whole, and it probably brought more value to you, to others that were in the room, and to myself, and like than we can even think of and we can even imagine, right? Like this just continues going on even till today. That was so many years ago.
Yeah, and it's like, what's possible? Can we have? And I was like, what if I could have it all? What if I could have everything I wanted, and I don't have to make a choice between this or that, my
Uh-huh.
son or my business? That I'm gonna have everything I want, and I just feel the shift from negativity to positivity, and like no longer, And I really like what you said also about are the words I'm speaking. I don't know how you exactly said it, but how I heard it was, are the words I'm speaking affecting others in a positive way? And I know that in the last 3 years, I haven't. Like someone told me, he's like, "You're really negative." Like, man, okay, I get to shift that, and now I went to the beach, and everyone was like stopping and talking to me. Like even the lifeguard guy opened his window and was like, "Hi, hey," like telling me about the weather today, and I was like, "Okay." You could just tell it's like a shift.
Wow, that was super powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Like that's when we somehow when we shift our outlook, everything starts like working for us. People feel the energy. People feel drawn to us. And it's really because there is no separation. We all participate and dance on the same frequency, whether we know we're there or not. Like we can be super depressed, super down, super negative, but you're still walking on the same frequency. And like the remembrance of that frequency actually brings you back to it. Right? So like you're just remembering things that is possible for you and literally calling it into existence now. And so like at some point when you have such deep faith and that you can give it over to God, that like yes, I want to have it all, but I also don't have a preference. That's the right thinking that produces peace in that situation. You're just like, hey God, it's up to you. I'll go do the massage or I'll go to the F1 or I'll go to Alex's event. I mean, no preference. And in the no preference, life becomes so easy. When we have all these preferences and we get confused about which one, then it goes down to, oh, what will other people think? Then what will what am I gonna miss out, right? And so I opened up, as you were saying, as you were sharing, the Year of Miracles by Marianne Williamson, and it's always such a great, like, perfect thing she writes and that we open to. Like this book is seriously like miracle right here. I mean, it's just a miracle. So, to what you said, I'm just gonna read this. Lost opportunities are never truly lost, right? And this is why we just give it over to God. I have not always behaved in ways that have maximized my opportunities, but the fact that I attracted them means that they were mine. Every lesson will come around again, and I will have a chance to learn it. Through my atonement, my humility and sincerity, and my sincere desire gets to get it right where I have gotten it wrong before, I will attract the same opportunities again in another form. God holds his miracles in trust for me until I am ready to receive them. He will send opportunities around again with even bigger plans for how they can bless me and others now. Dear God, I am ready to learn what I did not learn before. I am ready to grow and to be a better person because of what I know now. I atone for the mistakes of my past and pray that they be used miraculously to create an even greater good. Amen.
Amen.
So good, right? Like we just continue to get blessings. Like it keeps coming around and around, and we just simply have to remember that we are worthy of love and we are worthy of the miracles and the blessings. Even the relationship that you exited, like it could be a huge mirror for you, right? Like now that you had this, you had a mirror, you had a holy instant moment.
Huge mirror.
Yeah.
Biggest mirror I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I want to say one last thing before
Yes,
I
please.
mute myself. I saw a video yesterday. This goes in line with everything. This woman said, so this has to do with the hurricane coming, right? Everyone says they're worried about someone, right? And she goes, when you worry about someone, you're being a wet blanket to this person. And she goes, now think about all the millions of people that are out there worrying about somebody, sending worry to Florida, that they're just sending wet blankets. So don't be a wet blanket, everybody.
That's great. What was the other
Be
saying for about worry?
happy.
Well, I think worrying is like the prayer for the worst possible outcome or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Send
yes,
love, not worry. I love that. All right,
sending
go,
love.
Alex.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Thank you for kicking us off with, great things. So, anybody else want to share anything from where Annika began, led us to? Anybody feel alive to share anything? Doesn't have to be, great things. If you're dealing with challenges, things like that, feel free to also share. And let's see if the teachings from A Course in Miracles can guide us to a more peaceful place. Thanks, Doug. Thanks for being here. Oh, whoops, he's gone.
I can definitely relate to the negativity because I've heard myself recently like being negative, and typically I don't, it's not like I want to be negative, but I've caught myself saying things or like hearing a tone in my voice that's like, just not what it should be. It's like that's not right. And I know when you're in the depths of that, you don't hear that, you don't notice that, and it's like you're looking out without that mirror, and it's like I don't know where the mirror exactly comes from, but it's a blessing to me. I'm grateful. It's like an ability to correct yourself if you can see it. You have to be able to see the wound and know that it's there for you to be able to heal it. And so for me personally, that's something that I'm working through also. There is a lot of worry and there's a lot of negativity, and I tend to, like, I might focus on that and I forget that it's all in God's hands. It's not my plan, it's his will. And it might be painful for us, and it's my heart goes out to everybody that's in the path of the storm, and it's the people that are in North Carolina and Tennessee and Georgia that have already been. And that's got me worried a lot, I guess. I've been focusing on some negative, like where were the people, where was our government to help these people? And I have to remember that it's not my plan, and that you got to let some of that is negative, and I've got to be careful. I like what she said about your words, of being careful with what you're saying. And sometimes I say things immediately without being without considering every possible thing, and I just have to say it. But I pray that it's not negative, that it is that good things will come from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because all things that come, all thoughts, even including words that you say, right? Like the Course says, it will all serve good in the end, right? Now, it's just, do we have peace around it after we say it? Because after we say it, after we think it, it produces form in our life. But that form isn't really real. The Course says it's not really real, but to you it becomes real because you spoke it. You gave it the power, you gave it the word, right? So like then it becomes real. So, know that all things will be forgiven and all things work for good in the end. Really, it just comes down to, do I have peace around it after I say it? And like when we speak, you can say the same thing, but it's the frequency, the energetic frequency behind it, the intentions behind it that matters, right? Like you can say it and you're doing it with love, then it's cool. If you say it and you're creating judgment and shame and guilt, then that's how you're going to feel. You just create more of your life. There is nobody else out there, really, what the Course is saying. It's just you and your experience. Nobody's in your mind with you, right? But how can you comfort your mind? And that's what the Course says, like, it's returning to spirit. It's to have an intimate relationship with spirit so you never really feel alone, and that spirit's got your back. Like, when sometimes we say things so hurtful, or things are so hurtful that are said to us, that we can't let it go. It just, like, it eats at us, or we did something that we feel like we were, it just, like, what's it called, engulfs all of who we are. And so, like, we can give it over. If you have a good relationship, just give it over. Be like, I don't really know what it's all for. Here you go. But what we try to do is we try to cleanse it and purify it and make sense of it first before we give it over. And the Course is like, no, you don't need to do that. That's not your burden either. Right? Your practice is literally only in surrendering that over. And that is it. Juliana, you had something you wanted to share? You had your hand up.
No, I just wanted to introduce myself to the group.
Okay. Well,
it's my first day here.
Okay, cool.
And I've known about A Course of Miracles for quite a long time. And it's probably very purposeful, being that I'm in Florida right now and doing prayers for the storms. But not only that, it's for me, storms are an invitation to reconnect to the divine. It's a reconnection to who I am, and what it's a reflection of. Okay, what storms in me do I need to take care of? It's another way of looking at that. So I've been through a lot of these Florida storms, and when I talk to the storms, it's an invitation for us to reconnect to nature, to our own, to realize that Mother Nature is us too, and that there is no separation. We are all one in the families of love and light, and to understand that we have a choice. We always have choices in how we are going to act and react in these situations. And, it's very important to really ground in our truth of who we are. And I think that sums up, where I'm at in my own personal evolution as I enter into this group. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. And I just want to reflect back to you too, that the way you speak and your voice is very grounding too. It's very calm, so thank you for joining
us. I've been on
us.
this journey for 25 years. It took a long time to get to that space of it's only about you. All that you're seeing outside is always about what's going on the inside, whether you feel it or not.
Yeah.
To tap into what's going on and how you're reflecting on the rest of the world, that planetary mind. So, yeah, I'm here.
You're here. Thank you for being here. And this is a good place for all of us to check in for a second also. Like, why are we here? Like, why do we spend the time on a Wednesday morning to be here on this call? What's the highest possible potential or outcome that could be for me on this call? Right? And as we check in with that as we go, we will draw in the exact things we need to hear. We will draw in the exact relationships that need to be formed and the miracles to show up in our own lives, right? That all possibility is available to us, right? And that, the scarcity or any constrictions or confusions that we may be experiencing, that is, that will pass. It will pass in the shifting of your mind, and the shifting of your mind will give you a different experience to the things that are happening, right? Shifting our relationships and how we respond to the hurricane that's coming to Florida, right? Do we bring more peace or do we bring more chaos, right? Because it tends to do that. Like, the moment that this hurricane is coming again, one, we go, oh my God, we feel, worried for our peoples or our friends and family down there. And the next, we go into war. We look at why the government is not supporting or why this person's doing that or not doing this. Then we think about, oh my God, all the people are going to start looting. And then like our mind, unchecked, when our mind is unchecked, the ego takes over and weaponizes all things for separation. And so everything that we're meant to do here, through forgiveness, we begin to release the separation mentality, right? That we can let this go. Even if I did have that thought, the next moment is a complete new possibility, new moment. And as we continue to step into that, we remember why we're here, and we tap into the frequency of love, and the better we are, the more fluent we are at speaking this universal language, the more we will attract greatness into our own lives. The more we will see greatness in our own lives and in ourselves. And as we see it in ourselves, we see it in others. And the conflict within us becomes resolved, So, yeah. Anybody else?
Hey, yeah, it's Carla.
Carla, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. So, as we're sharing about, you just shared about self-awareness, and when the mind goes unchecked, I think I can definitely relate to that shit. So, I don't think I've ever thought of myself as like a religious person, but more so like a spiritual seeker, like for always, as far as I can remember. And finding the course has kind of added a lot of the missing pieces for me. Still, like with the practices, with meditation or whatever, sometimes life happens, right? And I get taken off the course. So like I'll, like for instance, speaking of hurricanes, I'm in South Carolina and we got hit pretty hard not too long ago. And so we lost power for a week. So I had to go to Orlando. So like, I'm leaving to stay with family kind of disrupts the morning routines and, that kind of thing. And so, there's that mind, being unchecked, because like, it's almost like, like a meditation or like a prayer in the morning. It's almost like brushing your teeth. It's like, it's the hygiene of the soul for me. So like, if I don't do it, I'm so much more susceptible to, be more irritable and this kind of thing. So I don't know, like as much as I try to keep myself on check, we're, for those of you that don't know, I'm in South Carolina, and we are creating a spiritual retreat for all people to come and host retreats, host one-day events. And so even in this space, I have 6 business partners. We are 3 couples. And even in that, like on the day-to-day, as like we're building, as we're constructing, as we're creating, there's stuff that comes up, right? There's like, plans that change or this or that. And I would just like to open up for anyone that gets inspired to share, because it's like, even in the midst of wanting to always operate from, the truth that is inside of me, which is my heart space, which is God, which is all that is, sometimes I don't. and the thing is, I make myself so bad and wrong for it. Like I want to more than anything, but I forget that the Holy Spirit is there. And so like, rather than giving it up, you know, like the ego wants to take control. And it's frustrating and it's disheartening. So I would just like to open that up to anyone that feels inspired to say anything. Yeah.
Would anybody like to share? So you're not alone in that journey. You know, we take the past and we imprison and we punish ourselves and we punish others. And as you were sharing, I just flipped to another page from Marianne because she's just such a wordsmith. And sometimes reading what she says really supports. And of course, it's super perfect. It says, I will not punish myself for the mistakes of my past. Like, what? Is she listening? Or what's happening here? Somebody's listening. So it reads, the dark nights of my soul have taught me many things about where I got it wrong and where I got it right in life, about who I've been and who I choose to be now. I take responsibility for my mistakes. I atone for my errors. So atone in the sense of the Course is to undo. Okay, it's to undo. It's not like, oh, let me do anything else, but it's really just to undo that thought. I atone for my errors, right? Errors are there to be corrected, not to be punished, right? But we punish. You're punishing yourself for the errors. So it's just a shifting in relationship to the errors. I atone for my errors. I do what I can to make things right, and I allow forgiveness and mercy to wash me clean. It neither serves me or anyone else for me to beat up on myself continually. Having burned through appropriate remorse, I wish to move ahead and grow from my mistakes. I will not stay stuck in the mire of self-hatred. Although I have made mistakes in my past, I am not bound by them in the present, for my atonement is sincere. God himself would not have me be punished, whom he himself has already forgiven. Dear God, please help me accept your mercy and forgiveness. May I be as kind to myself as you are to me. May I begin again with a heart that's clean of the guilt I will lay upon myself. Amen. Like all guilt and all shame and all punishment is me laying it on myself. Like nobody else. And when we think about the insanity of that, we can just let that go. It's like, really, I don't have to answer it to anybody. You know, and to recognize that these times of forgetting serves a purpose as well, right? All the forgetting serves the great awakening. So forgetting is to strengthen remembering. I think somewhere in the Course it says that, or I picked it up somewhere and I've ran with it since then. So, right, like when we recognize, wow, forgiveness is to strengthen for remembering. That means I can also almost invite forgiveness in, forgetting in, right? Like when I forget, when I'm not aligned, when I speak harsh words, oh wow, I can change my relationship to that. That it's no longer gonna, be a way that I beat myself up, because the ego is very, very clever and very genius. We will say, I am so kind to other people. And it's like, oh yeah, you do that. You can look good, but you're going to be really hard on yourself. And there, again, no separation. It's not them or me. It's like, it's together, right? And when you're unkind to yourself, in your thoughts, you will judge and attack others too. That's just how smart the ego works. Hopefully that's supported. Marianne always supports.
Oh my God, I can't believe that. I mean, I can. I can't believe that page was turned. How perfect. And it's a great point that it brought up for me about, being in this moment, right? Because when I'm like judging myself and making myself bad and wrong, I'm still living in whatever happened in that moment or in the past. And, this moment is the only the only moment of the present moment is the only moment that we can bring reality to, right? Like like if I'm living in the past, that's definitely the ego mind. That really supported. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. You guys, in sharing, we are gifting to the space. And I imagine this call and myself being in this call as like we're just amplifying a message out into the world without even having to really say anything either, right? Just by participating and witnessing and becoming a part and remembering together, right? Like being a part of the collective remembering, like it's powerful. 27 people on the call, plus as many people that will witness any part of this call through the socials, like this is vibrating outwards. Words are symbols that can be misunderstood, but frequencies can't. Energetic frequency and the sincerity and the authenticity and the vulnerability that creates a safe container is what the world needs. And that's what we're doing here. So I acknowledge you guys for, stepping up and sharing what is alive for you, what you can celebrate, but also what have you been carrying, right? Like we can release and do this together and remember together. And what you're holding on to, everybody else is holding on to some form of that. So like, that was really powerful. Your share actually, I felt like there was something that was releasing for me as well. So thank you for sharing. Anyone else feel called to share anything? Okay, cool. I would like to get the section. Every single call here, we do one section in the course. So as we listen to the section of the course, my invitation is just to open your heart and your mind. Allow anything to come. Like there is no judgment, no need to compare to anything. Just let the words flow through. Whatever thoughts come from it, that's meant to be there. And just let it be and let it happen. It's meant to be there. Maybe as we read here, you're going to think about the storm. Maybe you'll think about your family. You'll think about your wife, your husband, your kids, your coworkers, right? Somebody that you actually feel animosity towards, someone that triggers you, right? All of those things, whatever, just let those things come and also let them go so that you can tap back into what is being read here. So again, like, the challenges that I always have when I read the course is when the ego comes in. Anytime the ego comes in, this is why the course is hard for people to read too, because the moment that the ego comes in and you're reading from that place of comparing or separation or, whatever, none of it was going to make sense. It won't even enter your mind. It will go in one ear, out the other ear. And so like when we catch ourselves like, oop, it's flying over our head, or I don't know what's going on, like return. This is a call, an invitation back to love, back to spirit. Like, oh yeah, I just had those thoughts and made no sense. And let me just give it over, new moment. And now I can step into the possibility again. I've read the course 7 or 8 times fully through, and still like every time I read a chapter or a paragraph or a section, I'm like, wow, that was profound, And so it's a constant reminder. And every paragraph, every word used in here with the intention of forgiveness and love. And it's speaking about the same thing, just in a bunch of different ways. So chapter 8 is called The Journey Back. Section 5 is called The Undivided Will of the Sonship. And okay, so we'll just start and we'll read right here, and then whatever comes up, we'll have an opportunity to share afterwards. Okay, so can you be separated from your identification and be at peace? Dissociation is not a solution, it is a delusion. The delusional believe that truth will assail them and do not recognize it because they prefer the delusion. Judging truth as something they do not want, they perceive their illusions which block knowledge. Help them by offering them your unified mind on their behalf, as I am offering you mine on behalf of yours. Alone, we can do nothing, but together, our minds fuse into something whose power is far beyond the power of its separated parts. By not being separate, the mind of God is established in ours and as ours. The mind is invincible because it is undivided. The undivided will of the sonship is the perfect creator, being wholly in the likeness of God, whose will it is. You cannot be exempt from it if you are to understand what it is and what you are. By the belief that your will is separate from mine, you are exempting yourself from the will of God, which is yours. Yet to heal is to make whole. Therefore, to heal is to unite with those who are like you, because perceiving this likeness is to recognize the Father. If your perfection is in him and only in him, how can you know it without recognizing him? The recognition of God is the recognition of yourself. There is no separation of God and his creation. You will realize this when you understand that there is no separation between your will and mine. Let the love of God shine upon you by your acceptance of me. This is Jesus speaking to us, or Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's the Trinity is one. My reality is yours and his. By joining your mind with mine, you're signifying your awareness that the will of God is one. God's oneness and ours are not separate, because his oneness encompasses ours. To join with me is therefore to restore his power to you, because we are sharing it. I offer you only the recognition of his power in you, but in that lies all truth. As we unite with him. Glory be to the union of God and his holy sons. All glory lies in them because they are united. The miracles we do bear witness to the will of the Father and his Son, and to our joy in uniting with his will for us. So like this whole section is just talking about joining wills, right? Like when we see, the Course says that the teacher of God made one decision, that you and your brothers have no separate desires, that your wills are one. And as you join your will with your brothers and your sisters and the people and all the strangers, right, you in that moment recognize the will of God, because you see that two minds are joined. So it doesn't require everyone on the planet. You can literally pick anyone who you have withheld love for, right? Anyone that you hold grievances to, anyone that triggers you, that's the place to start, because that's where the separation is. In a loving, kind place, you know, when you are just so accepting of somebody, you don't need that much work, right? You're just like, yeah, you know, I love, you know, our minds are joined. I feel like our values are aligned. Everything's aligned. It's easy to accept that, but it's in the places where we are challenged and where we judge and we attack and we shame, you know, that's the place where we need to unite the minds. Like, can you unite your mind and your will to the will of the human trafficker, right? Somebody, I don't know, like someone that you feel like, whoa, they are completely not a child of God. There is the devil or evil in this person. Can you align there? That is you healing not only for you, but for the world and for that person as well. And sometimes it's just connecting our unwillingness or how hard we are on ourselves to how hard they might be on themselves. And the suffering and the pain that we both go through, just looking like different forms. Mark, did you want to share something?
Yeah, can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Oh, awesome. Hey, happy day to everybody, and shout out to all the October babies. Happy birthday to Sister Claudia Pacitti.
Yeah.
We celebrated yesterday, and you know, my heart goes out with love and joy to everybody for wherever they're at right now, and just to be a prop of support to all what everybody's processing. I just celebrated my 60th birthday.
Happy
On the 4th.
birthday.
Happy birthday! And my beautiful lady put together this amazing get together of beautiful souls, and it was a complete surprise. I opened up my eyes, and there was just all these beautiful faces just surrounding me, and I was in just such awe to see the capacity of love that I was just looking into their eyes. Experiencing all this love around me. I took a moment just to look at everyone's eyes that was in our beautiful backyard. And I came to an area which always kind of shows up in our space, and that's my own personal family and Stacy's own personal family. And they always sit outside of the circle. And Stacy has been this amazing, like it almost seems like her sole desire is to unite the family, bring back, togetherness, and to eliminate separation and division. But yet it stands so strong within our family dynamics. And as my heart was so open, a part of me still was experiencing this anxiety of the way that they show up. And it's almost like a place of obligation, but yet from a place of obligated love. And when they're there, they emit this energy of just like I just don't understand what this is about. Why is there so much love here? Why is there so many caring people that care for one another? And so you can see that division just occurring because they huddle together and they just have their way of being. And so my heart was almost like split for a moment. And then I was saying to myself, you know what? This is here for a purpose, to show something to myself, to Stacy, so that we can grow from this moment. Like, we've been trying to bridge the family and to see love in a way that we want to share it, but not to be judged by it, but just to be acknowledged that, so the remarks will come later, and it's just of judgment. And as I stand there and say to myself, I love you for just where you're at, and I only want the best for my family. I've almost come to the place like I get to say and surrender that it's not my place to try to bridge them into love or acceptance or connection in what we have. And so I kind of told Stacey, is like, maybe it's just time that we don't invite them to what we create for community and connection. And that, if we want to spend that kind of time with them, we just do it aside from what we're doing. And so I just wanted to know from you, Alex, like, does that make sense? Does it, is it something that I should consider, like, not always trying to bring them into our lives and see what love can be and how, connection and community can look like? Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, And it's funny because you said two completely different things in that messaging as well. One is, it's not up to me to determine how this love is going to return to everybody. It's not up to me to be like, everyone has to be this way or that way. And then, see, there's the surrender, there's the giving it over, and then the ego comes in and says, but you know what? I'm going to take charge, and I will decide that separation becomes the answer. Right? So, like, that's when we know, like, on one end, we really want to give it over so we can have peace. Like, they showed up for you. They didn't have to show up, right? So they showed up and they didn't behave or be a certain way that you prefer or you think is best, and you're like, okay, great, let me just give this over to God. Got it. It's not up to me. And then the ego sneaks back in and says, let me do something about it though. Right? Let me now again kick God off the throne and be like, I think the best way is that they don't get invited. And then we'll do something in a separate time. And so that creates more conflict, right? Because all that's going to do is you're going to highlight this division in there. Like the mastery of love is not the same as mastery of, all the other stuff that is not love, right? When we master love, we're just in love. We believe and we see into what like really is there, that the love is actually there, like we look to the love that exists in the space now, and then we just call forth that and we grow that. But to try to create love by creating separation, let me master darkness first. I share this on this call a lot. It's like the mastery of light is not the same thing as the mastery of shadows. Mastery of light is turning on the light and letting the light dissipate the shadow by itself. Mastery of the shadow amplifies the shadow itself. Right? So you're like, let me create more division. Like, I don't want division. Ultimately, I don't want division. But let me create it now, because I think somehow more division will create more love. Like the insanity of the ego's thinking. So you were on it with the let me give it over. It's not up to me, because ultimately it's for you to experience peace. As you experience peace, you give and create more peace in this space. You allow them to enter, right? They're huddled up because they don't know the space. It's not that safe for them in their mind. But as you bring peace and you don't have a preference, you give them the chance to take a step in there. Like, ooh, what's this about? Maybe they move their huddle a little bit closer to somebody else. And as you're speaking more peace, you're inspiring others in that space to also be the same thing, do the same, right? Inviting your family in, or your family might feel like, let me invite others into our little huddle. But you have to see that as a possibility first, right? In order, like I shared, step number 2 is vision. You must see it in your mind that it can happen before it's possible. The ego says, nope, it's not possible. Let's just separate these things. And all that will do is create more of the drama that you actually don't really want, right? The ego is so funny like that. So I don't know if that supports you, but really that's just what I'm hearing, and reflecting some of the teachings from A Course in Miracles back to you, which is speak and create only unity,
Yeah, 100%, brother. Thank you for that clarity. It's like, damn, man. It shows up, and I'm like, okay, I think I got this figured out. And I'm like, yes, oh, I love. And we've been working on this for decades. Decades, man. We're not talking about, a year, 2 years, decades. And I'm like, okay, I think I finally got the message. This is the way it gets to be. So that everybody can be comfortable in their own space. So thank you for that. I appreciate you. I love you, man.
Yeah, you don't gotta worry about everyone's like comfort or not in there. It's just you. You are being loved in that moment, and just experience love. And through your ability to experience love, everyone else will be more open to it.
That I did.
Thank you. Great. Awesome. Thanks for the share, and happy birthday, brother. 60. Amazing. I wish I could have been there, but I totally have been to so many of those that I can see it exactly as you're sharing it. Awesome. Did somebody else wanted to share something? No? Some stars. Thanks for being here. Okay, so I'll continue to read. Let's just finish that off. When you unite with me, you're uniting without the ego, because I have renounced the ego in myself and therefore cannot unite with yours. Our union is therefore a way to renounce the ego in you. The truth in both of us is beyond the ego. Our success in transcending the ego is guaranteed by God, and I share this confidence for both of us and all of us. I bring God's peace back to all his children, because I received it of him for us all. Nothing can prevail against our united wills, because nothing can prevail against God's. You know, as I read the Course all the time, it's just a reminder for, like, we can see it like, oh, is, you know, our brother Jesus speaking to us, like telling me what to do, or is it just a guidance to how I should be with another? And that's really the reflection back, is there is no separation, and you can do the same. Right? You have the ability to renounce the ego and not join egos with others, and therefore the ego disappears. Not to, like, you know, sometimes we confuse that with, like, you know, judgment as well. It's like, oh, your ego. But it's that my ego isn't here, that it can't even see yours. Right? So a lot of times as we're going through this journey, we're like, okay, I know what the ego is. Then you begin to recognize the ego in others. And it's like, oh, let me just shed my ego. We think that if we put it on somebody else, we have less of. Right? So we project it out onto others. And we're like, oh, yeah, that's the ego. Well, the reason why you see the ego is because you're in a 10 times the size ego in that moment. The ego in you is so much more alive. That's why you can see it in somebody else. So when he says that my ego cannot join with yours because it doesn't exist, I can't even see it. Right? And that's like the practice of just letting go of judgment. Judgment itself is a reflection back to us, like, oh, there's the ego again. All right. Would you know the will of God for you? Ask it of me who know it for you, and you will find it. I will deny you nothing as God denies me nothing. Ours is simply the journey back to God, who is our home. Whenever fear intrudes anywhere along the road of peace, it is because the ego has attempted to join the journey with us and cannot do so. Sensing defeat and angered by it, the ego regards itself as rejected and becomes retaliative. You are invulnerable to this retaliation because I am with you. On this journey, you have chosen me as your companion instead of the ego. Do not attempt to hold on to both, or you will try to go in different directions and will lose your way. The ego's way is not mine, but it is also not yours. The Holy Spirit has one direction for all minds, and the one he taught me is yours. Let us not lose sight of his direction through illusions, for only illusions of another direction can obscure the one for which God's voice speaks in all of us. Never accord the ego the power to interfere with the journey. It has none, because the journey is the way to what is true, leaving all illusions behind and reach beyond all attempts of the ego to hold you back. I go before you because I am beyond the ego. Reach, therefore, my hand because you want to transcend the ego. My strength will never be wanting, and if you choose to share it, you will do so. I give it willingly and gladly because I need you as much as you need me. Yeah, super powerful. A way for us to be with our brothers and our sisters, you know? That we are always here to lend a hand. So, yeah, what's alive? Anything else alive for you guys here? Anyone want to share anything?
I could share. It's easier for me to undo the mic than to raise my hand and wait, so I hope you don't mind.
I don't mind.
So, what's present for me right now is like, some of you on the call know that I've been working on my virtual assistant career, as well as, you know, putting out into the world like the healing offerings that I have, like helping people sing and stuff like that. And so far, like being back from Peru for 3 months, it's been easier to get virtual assistant jobs and like easier in my mind, right? Like, oh, like that's something normal that like everybody needs and can help with. So fast forward, couple days ago, maybe yesterday, my best friend sent me a job link, and I've been avoiding getting a job, to work for the man. And so she sends me this link, and it's the first time, because she's looking for a job, so it's the first, she sends me things that she thinks maybe I might be interested in. And it's the first time I wasn't like, a fuck no. It's the first time. Because I saw like the company is like women built and led. It has a really amazing culture. If I remember everything I'm reading about it, it was like, wow, I could actually work for them and feel good about myself. And it was a completely different feeling, and it's got like nice pay, and I've been struggling a lot with money since, really for a year, since losing my corporate job when I was in Peru. But I've been okay with it because I was doing everything I loved. And being in Florida, I'm just finding like I need to pay rent as of January, so like that's coming up. There's only 2.5 more months. I need a car so that I can be in service and get where I need to go, and even get a job out in the world, maybe if I needed to, right? It just like opens up everything to be able to travel around the States and things like that. And so I have this like, not that I would get this job, but I'm perfect for the job. Like everything that it's listing, like Salesforce, project management, consulting, all the stuff that I have in my back pocket, it's there. And the opportunity to make a giant for where I'm at right now, definitely paycheck. And it's just like I'm in this like crux, because also I called Chat GPT Chad because the other one's too hard to say with all the initials and everything. So my buddy Chad's been helping me out with like, how I can get my message out with like post prompts and all these things. So I have like a clear direction of what I could, create content and get out into the world with. And then I have this like, oh, maybe you could get a job, kind of the definitely easier route when it comes to like all of that. And so I'm just at this kind of crossroads of not knowing what to do. Like, do I apply for the job? And I'm on LinkedIn and it won't let me update my skills and shit. And I'm like, oh, is that a sign I'm not supposed to do this? Because I can't like put in like my full work history on LinkedIn because of some bug it has, So that's it. That's what's real for me. I'm just like at this crossroads of not knowing exactly if I should go for the job, commit 6 months, make some bank, and then decide. Like I've thought about that. Like I could let myself do that for 6 months and fill my bank account a little bit, and then feel in my body and see how am I feeling working for this company, and just like really check in. But it's a struggle. Go ahead, Alex, please. Counsel me.
Well, so confusion is not of God. Okay, so I think, in my listening of what you're sharing, it seems like you do know what you want, but there is a different part of you that is creating confusion. I personally feel like you know what you're gonna do. I think you've, just from your share, at least what I'm hearing, it seems like you already know the answer. So this, you don't need the reaffirmation of other people of what to do. What's the better choice and this and that. You already know. And I would just kind of be and sit with that and be like, all right, which one feels right? Don't listen to your head. Like don't listen to that. Listen to your heart of what your heart says to do. And then just step into full trust. Like there are miracle moments just even in like looking at the job, right? Like you had a shift in your mindset of what's possible for you, right? Because when you have a judgment against anything, the man or not the man or whatever, there's a closing off of possibilities, right? So just like Annika was saying to start the call, and we're like wrapping up the call kind of with it, is like being open, right? Let me be open to it, and then I already know. The wisdom and the teacher inside me already knows, right? Like the divine goddess in you already knows what you need to do. So I'm going to leave it at that. If anybody else wants to share anything else, please feel free to do so. Samsara is going to share after you. Yeah, any words of wisdom for Lisa? Even though she doesn't need it, but okay.
I'm words of encouragement for Lisa, and I'm so glad that we're both on this call. And I've been with Lisa in Peru, and I've watched her evolution and her blossoming of how she's been stepping into her purpose, her dharma. And honestly, like, I love that you're sharing vulnerably here, and at the same time, you have everything that you need. You have everything that you need, and I know that you have such a strong intuition, and if it lights you up, trust it. And yeah, I'm just on, and whatever choice that you decide to make, you're just gonna do it with love. So that's just my words of encouragement to you, Lisa.
Did you want to share something after also? Because you said I want to share after Lisa.
Yeah, but unless anyone else has something to say to Lisa before I take over. And if not, I'm so happy I'm on this call. I've been trying to get into this Zoom room for the longest time, because I've been watching the lives on Instagram and Facebook, and I was just like, this space is just so incredibly grounding. And yeah, just thank you so much, Alex, for creating this space. I really liked what you shared, Alex, about mastery of light and mastery of shadow. I literally just had a conversation about this with someone yesterday, and it's something I've been in like deep contemplation over, not just since that conversation, but I think over these last years of trying to illuminate myself and balancing light and shadow. And I just want to play heaven's advocate here. I'm curious about your opinion, or your intuition about this, Alex, about mastery of shadow, because you were sharing about that it becomes almost like mastery of division, or it just creates more division. And I've been on this journey, and I think so many of us too, of wholeness of integrating both light and shadow. And from my understanding of shadow is that shadow, from a Carl Jungian perspective, it's not division, but it's like these fragmented parts of ourselves that are in the subconscious, and we kind of have to use our intuition or dig deeper or use our inner compass in the darkness to find what those parts are. And I remember having this beautiful workshop with Letty, where we were face to face with each other, and we did these like kind of like dream, closing our eyes and dreaming into the person's like spirit animal. Mine was a firefly, and Letty's was a mole. And I was like, wow, you work with darkness. And she's like, yes, but in those subterranean areas, she's able to find underground water, all these things. So it's just like, I'm just trying to understand, I guess, darkness in that way. Like, does it have to be division, or can it be to our benefit to find these like kind of subconscious levels that are real deep down within, and we just have to integrate those parts with the light? So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, for sure. This is a conversation that many people are challenged by, right? Because we've learned so much from the shadows in our lives, right? So of course we give it like the proper, what word am I looking for? Acknowledgement, right? Of how it has changed us. But we've stepped into a light as a result of that. Now, the question becomes, does it mean that everyone needs to go through the same shadow work to step into the light, right? But there is no division, because the shadow is actually just the light not being turned on. The shadow is literally, imagine you step outside of your door and you're staring at the shadow behind you. you're not looking at the sun. You're not looking at the light. So you're like, man, the shadow. And you can play and dance and do whatever you want with the shadow, and you have no idea what it's doing, but you can work around it and work with it. But the moment you turn back to the light and you turn your back to the shadow's not even there anymore. Right? Like, you can't see the shadow. I mean, it's like there is a shadow there, but you're looking to the light now, which is what we're doing. We're looking through the shadow to find the light. But the light is just a choice to turn towards it. So that's one aspect. Two, the other analogy and image I have in my mind is you're in a dark room. Okay, there's an option to flick the light on and you just be in the light. Or you can crawl around the room for a long time and you find a lighter and you're like, okay, where's the candle? You got to crawl around the room everywhere to find the candle. And it's like, but I went through all the crawling to find myself and become more aware so that I can get to the light. So I can now have the light. It's like, oh, now you have this light, but because of all the work, the universal principle of growth is where we put our attention, it becomes bigger and it becomes more real, right? So that is a universal law of, do you look more towards fear or do you look more towards the light or love, right? So the mastery of love is us focusing only on love. Even as people are speaking ill to us, we can still find love right there. Now, you can overcome the fear part of it and be like, I went through the fear to get to the love, but you can also choose the love right off the bat. There is no wrong about it, right? So I'm not creating a division between the two. And what I said was not that it creates division. What I said is that the more you focus on the darkness, more of darkness becomes real. You're amplifying it in your own mind. And at some point, you're going to be like, how many times will you do the crawling around on the ground to find the lighter and the light to bring light into the room before you're like, screw this, I'm turning the light on? Like... We already know, like, when we imagine walking into a room and you have a choice every time to be like, we need light in this room. Like, I need to work on my laptop, I need to read and whatever. But, before you read, you got to crawl around the room everywhere and find your lighter and then find the candle wherever you placed it. And then you light it and you're like, okay, now I can read. Or you're just like, I'm going to come in, turn the lights on, and I'm going to start my reading. So the Course says all of that. It doesn't even matter what you choose. It doesn't matter at all. The only thing is that there is a delay. And delay doesn't even matter because time doesn't matter. God lives in eternity. So in us, we think time matters, right? And so we're like, oh, the delay is bad and this and that. But it doesn't even matter what you choose. The path through the shadow and the path to, ultimately it ends in light. That's it. Ultimately it ends in light. It just depends on when you want to turn the light on or how you want to do the light. But the more you give the shadow or the darkness more power than it has, you can't help yourself but to project it onto others and create confusion about light and shadow. So I think that makes sense. That makes sense in my mind. So this is what the Course is teaching us, right? And so it's not a spiritual bypass. A lot of people are like, oh man, I can't just spiritual bypass it. I can't just A Course in Miracles it, right? Like every time Love and I gets into an argument, and I just A Course in Miracles it in my own mind because I take full responsibility of my own response and actions to it. But she's like, no, we need to talk about it. And yes, okay, I got to meet her where she's at, right? And so, there's more work for me in there. I got to go and crawl around and find a lighter and the candle because that's what we get to do together until we both choose light. Until I can enroll her to be like, we can just turn this on and and they'll get there. She just messaged, she went through the training, she's going through some stuff other women's trainings right now and retreats, and she's like, oh my god, all this stuff that I've been holding on to, I feel like, can we just Control Alt Delete it? I'm like, yeah, we can. That's what I've been doing, but I didn't say that, of course, but she came to the realization herself. I just get to be patient, right? Because in the times that I'm not patient, I lose my peace. So in the infinite patience, it creates the immediate results for me. So I can have patience while it's happening, and I just meet her where she's at, And then eventually we're all going to get there. I don't need to say you need to get there now. And that's our problem. That's the ego's problem. And I am probably the biggest like person that gets caught up in the ego in that space. Right? So like, you know, control, delete it. Yeah, exactly. So that's, you know, and that's my take on it, you know, and I'm open to whatever, but, you know, I've gone through lots of shadows in my own life. You know, I've shared recently with people, I don't share that much about this. It's like when my dad and my dog passed away, you know, I dropped out of college, took 2 pounds of mushrooms into the woods, journeyed for 60 days straight, you know, not microdosing. And the first week was hell. Like it was hell because it's complete darkness and I'm alone, right? Like in the woods. But I had to go through that. So I respect the shadow work I had to do, but it's also not really necessary, right? I had to go through it to get there, but doesn't mean everyone needs to, right? So our journeys and our curriculum, like our individual journeys, like we all have a patch of the garden to tend to, and that is it. We tend to our garden, and it doesn't, everyone else, we're all going to come back together at some point, right? So I do less of pointing, or I try to be aware of myself to do less pointing of other people's gardens. Did that make sense? That kind of made sense in my mind too. Anyways, hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was some food for thought for everybody, but that's a really good question. You know, a lot of people sometimes people come onto this call and they get turned off because they're like, this is spiritual bypassing. I'm like, whatever, you know, no preference.
I don't think it's spiritual bypassing. And I completely agree with you that eventually we do actually return to the light. I do a lot of birth work, you know, and when the baby is in the womb, right, they receive the nutrients, they grow, they develop, and then eventually they make it out the tunnel, right? They follow the light, they go out the light. And I think that's why I was given this name samsara, because of that cycle, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny, literally as you were talking about this, something just illuminated that returns back to Lisa. That came through about as you're making this decision. And I think what's coming through, Lisa, is the confidence to make the decision. And what illuminated in my mind is self-trust. Self-trust is authentic confidence, and that's how you will know. So yeah, and then it just clicked for me, and I don't know if that's clicking for everybody else, but yeah, thank you so much. I really love duality and light, dark, you know. To me, those are kind of like the fundamentals of what kind of build which direction to go and how to navigate darkness.
Yeah. And you know, the master of shadow, and this is what's coming to me now, is the person that is the master of shadows, the shadow work, is also the master of light, because they have to remember the light. This is what Jesus is telling us. I remember wholeness and your will for you. So as you're doing work with other people through the shadow work, you have to remember the light for them, right? You got to remember it for them, and that's how we heal them. Like, we see them as a healed light already, you know, and that's how we help people remember. One of the best healers I've seen live is my friend Clint Rogers, and he healed Love's like neck pain. And he's like, I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is remembering love and helping all of you guys remember love. Like, through this, and that's his confidence, his trust in God putting the right person in front of him is his remembrance of love for whoever is in this pain. And literally, he's like, I've never seen it. I've never seen physical 3D world healing the way he does, and being so connected to the spiritual side of it. You know, so it's like, to heal somebody is to remember that they aren't broken in the first place, you know? So that was just coming to me. So Letty, amazing, you know, worker in the shadows for sure. But we can also see it sometimes, like in her her beingness sometimes, right? And so some conflicts, things like that show up, but she is like, she's doing deep work in there, and we have to also remember the light. Like, remember the light in that space. And she's amazing. I love her so much, and I miss her. I'm going to send her a message after this, so thank you for bringing her up. Carla, take us home.
Hi. As the previous share was just happening, I remembered something that I read yesterday, and if that's okay with you, I would like to bring that to the space. So this is from the book from Gangaji, Freedom and Resolve. So she starts the book with "The choice is yours," and of course always talks about the choice, so I thought it would be really fitting. It says, after eons of choosing to tell a story of separation from God, the story seems choiceless. It seems choiceless, but it's not. You have simply been continuing to choose the story that was passed on to you by your ancestor, by your past lives, and by your past mistakes, by your past desires. What is choiceless is the truth of who you are, or truth. Choice lies in the mind's ability to either deny that truth or to embrace it. So, when it comes to light and darkness, right, we can choose to, like, even in my own share earlier today, right, like I was like making myself bad and wrong, but I could also just see that as a moment in passing, and not really identify as my truth. Like, I can understand that this is the dance of the Leela of the world, of this crazy dream, and not identify. So, like, I understand, like, shadow and light, right? And I can really appreciate all of this stuff. But, like, the truth is the truth. Like, who we are, we don't have a choice in that. The choosing of the mind is, like, are we willing to accept that? Or are we going to continue to choose from the ego and continue to play in this? And we're just going to continue to go eons and more eons, and just kind of, their choice. So anyways, I hope that makes sense. And
Yeah, love it. Thank you for that share. Yeah, the Course says, look, you can choose, right? You can choose between seeing with love, or let's say seeing with light, or seeing with darkness, but you can't change the truth. The truth is that it's just light. The darkness is you're working through the ego and all those things, but the ego was an illusion in the first place. That means everything created from it was an illusion, and our whole journey through the darkness is to undo the illusion so that we may see the light. And so the Course says your free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means that you can choose at any given time how much you can take in, and that your only choice is between love and fear. And it's just that simple. Like, the same words can come out of your mouth. If it comes from a place of shaming and guilting, that's what you're going to create. If it comes from love and support, then that's what's going to create. Words are symbols, and it's the energetic frequencies behind it that really matters. So we just have the free will to choose how we're going to look at something, and then how not to, or either fear or love. That's it. So Course lays it out super, super simple, and the rest of the book is just showing you when you are in your ego and when you are not, because the ego will deny it. Okay, so that is going to bring us to the end of this call here today. Anybody want to share any last things? If you feel compelled to share, we can do that, or we can just wrap it up here. Appreciate you guys joining this morning, co-creating this wonderful experience. All right. Well, I will leave you guys with this, that miracles are natural occurrences, and it is your inheritance. So if it is not happening in your life, it means on some level you are aligning with the ego. So just be more kind, be gentle with yourself, and forgiveness. Forgiveness is our whole purpose here. All right, so shine your light, forgive, and be nicer to people today. Have a wonderful, whatever day it is, Wednesday, and much blessings. I'll see you guys on Sunday or sooner. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Nice to meet